At the end of a long day, when the world finally becomes quiet, the mind often keeps moving. You might be lying there now, letting the weight of the hours settle around you, feeling that gentle tug between wanting rest and still carrying the last pieces of the day. Let yourself arrive here slowly. There's nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to solve, just a soft landing. Imagine a small lakeside porch at dusk. Not a place far away, just the kind of spot you might have visited on a weekend or passed by on a drive. A wooden chair, a soft breeze drifting across the water. The lake is calm tonight, holding the fading sky like a mirror. The surface moves in tiny ripples, as if breathing with you. Let your own breath fall into that slow rhythm, in and gently out. No strain, no effort. Just a quiet opening in the chest, and then a release. Notice your shoulders. They don't need to lift the day anymore. Feel them settle a little, like warm sand shifting into place. Out on the lake, a small rowboat rocks lightly against the dock. It moves just enough to remind you that stillness doesn't have to mean stopping. It can be soft motion, a loosening, a quieter kind of pace. Let yourself lean toward that. You might feel the echo of the day in your body, tightness in the jaw, a bit of heaviness behind the eyes, a swirl of thoughts that didn't finish themselves, work responsibilities that linger, the steady pull of family needs, maybe money worries tapping at the edge. It's all normal. It's what happens when you care about people, about outcomes, about doing things well. But for this moment, picture the porch light behind you casting a warm glow. A golden circle on the wooden boards, a safe little island of light where nothing urgent can reach you. You're not pushing anything away, just giving the mind permission to loosen its grip, the way fingers slowly open after holding something all day. Let your breath drop a little deeper now. Feel the air move down the length of your spine. When you exhale, imagine that tiny rowboat drift an inch farther from the dock, creating a soft creak of rope, almost like a whisper saying, "You can rest now." All required. The lake carries the colors of evening, the soft plum of the horizon, a faint line of silver on the water, the last oranges fading out. Night arrives like a gentle friend, not demanding anything, only dimming the edges so your thoughts can get quieter. Even your worries seem softer in this light, as if wrapped in cotton. You might notice how your body begins to settle on its own. The chest loosens, the belly softens. The space around your heart grows a little wider. Nothing dramatic, just a slow return to your natural rhythm, the one you forget during the day when everything moves fast and expects so much. In the distance, you hear a single frog call or the soft hum of crickets, steady, unhurried, reminding you that the night has its own calm heartbeat. Let that sound guide your breath into something even slower. Imagine each inhale lifting the surface of the lake just a little, and each exhale letting it smooth out again. The mind might wander. That's okay. Let it wander the way a leaf drifts across the water unhurried, touching the surface, moving with the breeze. You don't need to hold on to anything, not the unfinished tasks, not the unsettled questions, not the worry that tries to return. Everything can wait until morning. Here on this quiet porch, you're simply a person at the end of a long day, breathing, settling, allowing the night to carry you. Feel the weight in your legs, the softness around your jaw, the gentle warming in your hands. Let them all be signs that the body knows how to rest, even when the mind has been working hard. This is a place where stories can land softly, stories that have been carried through generations. Stories that remind us of the quiet clarity inside us, the one we rarely hear when the world is loud. Tonight, you'll hear them as if they're being told beside this lake, with the night settling in around you. Before we begin, if these nightly videos help you rest, you're welcome to subscribe so you can find them easily. And if you feel comfortable, you can leave a simple comment. 1, if it helped you. 2, if it didn't. Nothing more needed. Now let the porch fade a little darker. Let the lake become still. Let your breath remain slow and steady, and gently, We'll begin the first story. Story 01, The Buddha and the Angry Man. Late one afternoon, the Buddha walked quietly beneath the shade of tall trees. The air was warm, and the leaves moved with a slow, soothing rustle. A small group of monks followed behind him, calm and steady. A man approached, face tense, shoulders tight, breath sharp. He had been carrying anger all day, replaying old arguments and imagined insults, the kind of heaviness you might feel after a long day when one comment keeps echoing in your mind. He lashed out at the Buddha with harsh words. The monk stiffened, the way anyone might when someone brings that much heat into a peaceful space. The Buddha remained still. He didn't return the man's fire. He simply asked him, gently, "If a gift is offered but not accepted, who does it belong to?" The man hesitated, confused. "It stays with the one who tried to give it," he said, and the Buddha nodded. The man's anger loosened. His breathing softened. That tight energy he carried began to fall away, piece by piece. You might have felt something like that, someone else's frustration landing on you at the end of an already hard day, or maybe your own reaction rising too quickly. Even when someone throws anger your way, you do not have to pick it up. It can stay where it came from. A practice for tonight. Place a hand on your chest. Inhale slowly for a count of 4. Exhale for 6. Imagine any anger offered to you today resting on the ground instead of in your hands. Story 02, Kisa Gotami and the Mustard Seed. One quiet morning, Kisa Gotami came to the Buddha, her face strained from crying. She carried her small son, who had died in her arms. Loss had hollowed her, the way grief can hollow anyone dealing with something they weren't ready for. She begged the Buddha for medicine to bring him back. Her mind was caught between hope and heartbreak, desperate for anything. The Buddha listened with deep compassion. He told her to bring him a single mustard seed from a household that had never experienced death. She hurried through the village, knocking on door after door. Every home welcomed her kindly, but every home had its own story of loss. By nightfall, she returned with empty hands, but a softened heart. She understood she wasn't alone. The Buddha didn't give her explanations. He simply stayed with her in her grief until her breath steadied again. You may know that feeling too, the quiet ache of losing someone or something important. Grief doesn't ask permission. It just arrives. You're not alone in what you carry. Every home knows the shape of loss. A practice for tonight. Place both hands on your belly. Breathe in and let your abdomen rise. On each exhale, quietly whisper inside, "I'm not alone." Story 03, The Buddha and the Worried Farmer. A farmer rushed to the Buddha, overwhelmed. His crops were failing. His family argued. Money was tight. Nothing felt stable. He wanted the Buddha to solve his problems, every single one. The Buddha listened with patient presence. Then he said, softly, that everyone has problems. 38 of them, he joked in stories told later. And even if one is solved, another arrives. The farmer slumped. Then what's the point? He asked. The Buddha said the real peace comes not from removing all problems, but from loosening the burning need for everything to be perfect. The farmer's shoulders dropped. His breath slowed. Maybe you've felt that trying to balance work deadlines, bills, family needs, unexpected setbacks. You fix one thing and another pops up. You don't need to fix life to rest. You just need to stop wrestling with every moment. A practice for tonight. Exhale with a long sigh. Imagine placing one worry, just one, on a shelf until morning. Story 04, The Buddha and the Quarreling Monks. A group of monks had fallen into constant arguing. Small disagreements had grown into bigger ones, just like how workplace tension or family disputes can snowball over time. Tired and frustrated, they came to the Buddha. He welcomed them into a quiet grove and sat with them until the noise inside each man settled. He reminded them that disharmony begins in small habits, sharp words, assumptions, old resentments, like cracks in a walkway that grow if never tended. The monks breathed deeper. Their faces softened. They apologized to one another with sincerity. You might know that feeling, carrying tension from a short comment, a tight conversation, or a misunderstanding at home. Peace often begins with a small softening inside you, a gentler tone, a slower response. A practice for tonight. Think of one strained interaction today. On your exhale, silently offer, "May this ease." Story 05. A young monk and restless thoughts. A young monk confessed to the Buddha that his mind wouldn't stop racing. Thoughts jumped everywhere. Plans, worries, regrets. He felt ashamed, thinking he should be calmer by now. The Buddha took the monk to a quiet lake. He stirred the water with a stick until the surface blurred. "This is your mind when you fight it," he said. Then they stood together until the water became still again on its own. The monk's eyes softened. He understood. He didn't need to wrestle his mind into silence. Maybe you've felt that at night, your mind jumping from email tasks to old memories to tomorrow's expectations. Your thoughts will settle when you stop stirring them. Stillness returns when you stop chasing it. A practice for tonight. Sit or lie quietly. Let your thoughts float by like leaves on a slow stream. No need to grab any of them. Story 06. The Buddha and the monk, afraid of failure. One evening, a monk approached the Buddha with heaviness in his voice. He felt he wasn't progressing fast enough. He compared himself to others and believed he was falling behind. The Buddha listened, then told him about a lute string too tight and it snaps, too loose and it will not play. The right tension makes the music. The monk breathed out deeply. He had been holding himself too tightly, like many of us do when we push ourselves under work pressure or expect perfection. Don't pull your life so tight that it breaks. A steady, balanced effort is enough. A practice for tonight. Place a hand over your heart. Whisper inside, "I can go gently." Story 07. The laywoman and the fear of uncertainty. A laywoman came to the Buddha, troubled about the future. Money was uncertain, her children were growing, and she feared what might come next. The Buddha sat beside her beneath the shade of a mango tree. He spoke of how a traveler walks a road at night with only a small lamp, seeing only a few steps, but still able to walk the whole path. The woman's breath eased. She didn't need to see the future to move forward. You might know that feeling, worrying about what's coming next, trying to predict every outcome. You don't need to see the whole path. You only need to take the next gentle step. A practice for tonight. Name one thing you can handle tomorrow. Let everything else wait. Story 08. The Buddha and the grieving mother, Patakara. Patakara came to the Buddha after losing her family in a series of tragedies. Her mind fractured under the weight of grief. People avoided her, frightened by her sorrow. The Buddha welcomed her without fear. He didn't rush her pain. He simply offered presence the way moonlight rests on a broken field. As she sat near him, her breathing settled and clarity slowly returned. If you've ever carried a deep grief, quiet or hidden, you know how heavy it becomes when you carry it alone. Grief softens when it is shared with someone who doesn't turn away. Even gentle presence can steady the heart. A practice for tonight. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe in slowly. On the exhale, whisper inside, "I can hold this with kindness." Story 09. The Buddha and the jealous monk. A monk felt jealous of another's skills and recognition. The envy grew inside him, twisting his thoughts and making him resentful. He approached the Buddha, embarrassed. The Buddha compared jealousy to holding a burning coal while hoping the other person gets burned. The monk felt the truth of it. His breath softened, his shoulders lowered. Maybe you've felt that, seeing someone at work promoted before you, or watching someone else succeed while you feel stuck. Jealousy hurts the one who holds it. Letting go frees your hands to build your own path. A practice for tonight. Think of someone you compared yourself to today. Offer a simple inner wish. May we both find our way. Story 10. The Buddha and the man full of regret. A man came to the Buddha weighed down by past mistakes, words he wished he hadn't said, choices he wished he had made differently. He felt trapped by his own history. The Buddha pointed to the horizon at dawn. "See how the sky changes," he said. "The new day does not cling to the old night." The man inhaled deeply, as if tasting the first light. His regrets didn't vanish, but they loosened. You might know that feeling lying awake, replaying moments from years ago, or even from this morning. The past has already unclenched its fist. You can unclench yours too. A practice for tonight. Write one short line, even in your mind. Tonight, I release one thing I cannot change. Story 11. The Buddha and the monks afraid of the forest. The monks had been staying in a deep forest filled with strange sounds, wind through branches, animals moving at night, shadows shifting. Their fear grew until sleep became difficult. They went to the Buddha, voices trembling. They confessed they wanted to leave the forest and find a safer place. The Buddha listened kindly. He encouraged them to stay and meet their fear with presence, not resistance. He taught them to radiate loving goodwill to all beings, like warm light reaching through the trees. When they returned to the forest and practiced this, the fear slowly faded. The forest felt less like a threat and more like a living home. Maybe you've had nights when your mind makes the dark feel bigger, worries about work, money, or someone you care about. Fear softens when you stop fighting it and offer gentle friendliness instead. Practice. With each inhale, say inside, "May I be safe." With each exhale, "May others be safe." Story 12. The Buddha calms a grieving king. King Pasenadi once lost someone he loved deeply. Despite all his power, he could not escape the heaviness in his chest. He told the Buddha his heart felt like it was sinking into the earth. The Buddha spoke to him about how attachment and love are bound together, and how grief is a natural expression of a caring heart. Even a king is not spared from life's turning. The king breathed more evenly. His grief didn't disappear, but it became something he could carry without breaking. Maybe you've felt that too when someone important to you is hurting or gone, and your workday still expects you to function. Grief is love that no longer has a place to go. It softens when given room to breathe. Practice. Place a hand over your heart. Inhale gently. Exhale with the quiet thought, "It's okay to feel." Story 13. The Buddha and the monk attached to comfort. A monk loved pleasant food, easy days, and soft surroundings. When conditions grew harder, heat, long walks, plain meals, he complained constantly. His mind chased comfort the way many of us chase ease after a long day. The Buddha spoke to him about how attachment creates more hunger, not less. Like trying to fill a cracked bowl, satisfaction keeps leaking away. The monk understood. He breathed more quietly and began relaxing his grasp on comfort. You might know that feeling after a stressful shift, wanting everything to be just right, only to feel frustrated when life doesn't follow the script. Comfort is sweet, but clinging to it keeps you restless. Ease grows from a steady heart, not perfect conditions. Practice. Inhale deeply. Exhale and soften one small expectation you held today. Story 14. The Buddha and the man obsessed with praise. A man sought the Buddha because he feared losing his reputation. He worked hard, but his mind kept circling. What do they think of me? Am I respected enough? The Buddha reminded him that praise and blame shift like the wind, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. No one escapes them. The man's tight grip on others' opinions loosened. He sat a little straighter, breathing easier. Maybe you've felt that pressure at work, in family, online, worrying whether you're judged or appreciated. Chasing people's approval is like trying to hold the wind. Better to stand steady and let it pass. Practice. Close your eyes. Whisper inside, "I allow myself to be enough." Story 15. The Buddha and the woman carrying shame. A woman approached the Buddha with deep shame over past actions. She felt unclean, unworthy, convinced she didn't deserve peace. The Buddha told her that a drop of dark dye clouds a small cup of water, but not a vast river. When the heart widens with goodness, past mistakes no longer stain the whole life. Her breathing softened, her eyes lifted. She found space inside herself again. Maybe you carry regrets, an old choice, a harsh word, a time you fell short. A small mistake cannot darken a heart that keeps widening. Compassion cleans what shame cannot. Practice. Place a hand on your belly. Inhale, softening. Exhale, letting go. Story 16. The Buddha and the Angry Prince. A young prince was furious at a rival kingdom. He wanted revenge and came to the Buddha seeking justification. The Buddha told him of how hatred grows when fed and how it burns hotter inside the one who carries it. Peace, he said, comes not from striking back, but from cooling the fire within. The prince's fists relaxed. His breath deepened. The desire for retaliation slowly thinned. You might know the echo of that feeling when someone hurts you at work or in your family, and your chest tightens with old heat. Anger is a fire you hold to burn another. Letting it cool frees you first. Practice. Inhale through the nose. Exhale slowly through the mouth. Imagine heat leaving the body with every breath out. Story 17. The Buddha and the Monk, afraid of impermanence. One monk grew fearful after contemplating impermanence. Everything changing, everything passing it, made him anxious, like the ground was shifting beneath him. The Buddha reassured him that impermanence is what allows growth, healing, and renewal. Without change, nothing painful could soften, and nothing joyful could arise. The monk's face brightened. The fear faded into acceptance. Maybe you've felt that too, life changing faster than you'd like. Kids growing, work shifting, relationships evolving. Impermanence isn't the enemy. It's the doorway to possibility. Practice. As you breathe, notice something small changing your breath. Warmth in your hands, sounds in the distance. Let that be enough. Story 18. The Buddha and the Distracted Monk. A monk complained that he couldn't stay focused. His mind wandered constantly, pulling him toward chores, memories, plans, much like what happens when our phones buzz or inboxes overflow. The Buddha compared the mind to a young calf that wanders until gently guided back again and again. No scolding, just patient returning. The monk relaxed. He stopped fighting himself and simply practiced returning. Maybe your attention has been scattered to too many tasks, too many thoughts. You don't need perfect focus. You just need gentle returning. Practice. Choose one, anchor your breath, your hands, or a sound. Every time the mind wanders, guide it back softly. Story 19. The Buddha and the Monk who felt invisible. A monk felt overlooked. Others seemed more skilled, more praised, more seen. He felt small and unimportant. The Buddha reminded him that a single lamp in a dark room brings light, even if no one praises it. Quiet goodness matters, even when unnoticed. The monk smiled, his shoulders settled. Maybe you felt that at work or at home, doing so much without recognition, wondering if it matters. Quiet goodness is still goodness. Your light still shines, even without applause. Practice. Think of one small good thing you did today. Let yourself feel its quiet worth. Story 20. The Buddha and the Man Unable to Forgive. A man held a deep grudge and came to the Buddha hoping for validation. He replayed the hurt constantly, carrying it the way some carry old emails or arguments in their minds. The Buddha spoke of how holding resentment is like dragging a heavy sack through every moment. Forgiveness doesn't excuse the harm. It simply lets the carrier set the load down. The man's breath fell into a slower rhythm. The heaviness began to loosen. Maybe you've carried something like that. An old wound, a cutting comment, a disappointment. Forgiveness frees the one who carries the weight. It opens the next step forward. Practice. Exhale slowly. Imagine placing one stone of resentment on the ground. Leave it there for tonight. 21. The master who swept the wind. Late one afternoon, a student found the Zen master sweeping fallen leaves in the courtyard. The wind blew more leaves down, undoing all the master's work. The student laughed softly. "Master, why sweep if the wind keeps bringing more?" The master paused, leaning on the broom. "Because sweeping is not about clearing the ground," he said. "It is about clearing the mind." The student frowned. "But doesn't it frustrate you to see your work undone?" The master smiled. "The wind has its task. I have mine. Why quarrel with what belongs to the sky?" The student stood silent, listening to the rustling branches. "Then what should I do when life undoes my efforts?" "Do your part," the master said gently, "and bow to what is beyond your control." He swept again, calmly, leaves swirling around him like small, dancing lessons. That evening, the student wrote in his journal, "Inner peace is learning to sweep even when the wind blows." 22. The teacup of resentment. A monk arrived at the master's hut carrying a troubled face. "Master, I cannot meditate. My heart is full of resentment." The master poured tea into 2 cups. He filled the monk's cup all the way to the top, then added more until it spilled. "Master, it's overflowing," the monk cried. "So is your heart," the master replied. "You want peace, but you are filled with bitterness." The monk looked down. "How do I empty it?" The master handed him the dripping cup. "Hold this until the tea cools. Do not spill a drop." Minutes felt like hours. The cup was hot, heavy, uncomfortable. Finally the monk whispered, "Master, may I put it down?" "Yes," the master said. "And you may put down resentment the same way when you finally see it burns only your own hands." That night, the monk slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. 23. The shadow that followed. A young monk feared failure. Every mistake, no matter how small, haunted him like a shadow. One morning he asked the master, "How do I escape my failures?" The master pointed to the monk's shadow on the ground. "Run from it," he said. The monk ran in circles, but the shadow never left. "Breathless," he returned. "It follows me everywhere." The master nodded. "Turn and face the sun." The monk did so. Behind him, his shadow stretched quietly, no longer frightening. "What changed?" he asked. "You stopped trying to escape what is part of you," the master said. "When you face the light, your darkness falls behind you, not in front." From then on, the monk practiced courage by walking toward the sunrise each morning, watching his shadow gently retreat. 24. The bird that wouldn't sing. A young novice captured a small bird that often visited the temple garden. He believed that by keeping it close, he would enjoy its songs every day. But once caged, the bird stopped singing. The boy asked the master, "Why won't it sing for me?" The master opened the cage door without a word. The bird hopped out, perched on a branch, and sang a clear, joyful note. The novice was confused. "Why sing now and not before?" The master replied, "Because freedom is the breath of the soul. Without it, even the sweetest voice falls silent." The boy lowered his head. "So if I love something, I must let it be free." "Love that imprisons," the master said, "is not love, but attachment." The boy nodded slowly, listening to the bird's fading song as it soared into the sky. Later he whispered to himself, "A heart that gives space hears more music." 25. The monk and the mountain. A monk grew impatient with his slow progress on the path to enlightenment. He told the master, "I want to reach the peak faster. Show me a shortcut." The master led him to the mountain behind the temple. "Climb," he said. The monk rushed upward, full of determination, but the steep path exhausted him. He slipped, scraped his knees, and limped back down. The master then walked a gentler path around the mountain's side. Hours passed. The monk grew frustrated. "This is too slow." The master stopped. "The fastest way up he said softly, is the way you can sustain. The monk realized that ambition had blinded him. The mountain was the same, but his impatience had made the journey harder. From that day, he walked with steady breaths, trusting small steps over desperate leaps. 26. The glass in the stream. A traveler visited the temple seeking peace. He told the master, "My mind is troubled. I cannot see clearly." The master handed him a clear glass. "Place this in the stream," he instructed. The traveler submerged the glass. The rushing water stirred mud and silt, clouding the inside. "Now I see nothing," he said. The master nodded. "Hold it still." Minutes later, the mud began to settle. Slowly, the water inside became clear again. "Peace is like this," the master explained. "When your mind is shaken, everything becomes cloudy." "So what should I do?" the traveler asked. "Nothing," the master said. "Be still, and clarity returns on its own." The traveler bowed deeply, hearing the stream whisper its timeless lesson. 27. The three answers. A monk asked the master 3 questions. What is the most important moment? Who is the most important person? What is the most important action? The master served tea instead of replying. After pouring, he said, "This moment is the most important. It is where life actually happens." He handed the monk a cup. "This person in front of you is the most important because you can only touch the present through those around you." He sat quietly for a breath. "And kindness is the most important action because it softens the world wherever it touches." The monk felt his questions dissolve into understanding. For the first time, he sensed the profound simplicity hidden in everyday life. That night, he walked through the temple, treating each moment as sacred, each person as precious, and each word as a chance to create peace. 28. The rain that listened. It rained heavily for days. A novice complained endlessly about wet robes, muddy paths, ruined chores. Finally, the master invited him to sit under the eaves. "Listen," the master whispered. The novice heard nothing but rain. "I hear only noise," he said. The master closed his eyes. "I hear surrender. The sky letting go." The novice waited, puzzled. "What does that mean?" "Rain does not resist falling," the master said. "It does not cling to the clouds. It lets go freely, completely." The novice lowered his voice. "Master, how do I learn to let go like rain?" "Start by listening," the master answered. "For when you truly listen, you begin to release your own storms." And so the novice sat, listening, until the rain no longer annoyed him but softened his heart. 29. The lantern without a flame. A monk carried an unlit lantern during night practice. The others laughed gently, asking, "Why carry a lantern with no light?" The monk shrugged. "I don't know. I just feel safer with it." The master approached and tapped the lantern. "An unlit lantern cannot guide you," he said, "nor can beliefs you never examine." The monk hesitated. "Then how do I light it?" The master handed him a small spark stone. "By striking truth against comfort." "Now." The monk lit the lantern and gasped as warm light filled the path ahead. He realized how often he had clung to ideas out of habit, not understanding. From then on, he carried not only the lantern, but the willingness to question. He walked brighter, lighter, freer. 30. The fisherman and the moon. A fisherman sat by the lake, unable to sleep. He stared at the moon's reflection trembling on the water. When the master passed by, the fisherman said, "I wish I could hold that beauty in my hands." The master smiled. "You already do." The fisherman shook his head. "It slips away every time I reach for it." The master scooped a handful of water. The moon's reflection shimmered briefly, then vanished. "See?" The fisherman sighed. "The moon is always yours," the master said softly. "It is only the water that moves." The fisherman looked up at the quiet sky. He suddenly understood. His peace was above, not in the restless surface of life. That night, He slept with a calm heart, the moonlight resting gently on his dreams. 31. The master's empty chair. One morning, the monks gathered for their daily teaching, but the master's chair was empty. They waited in silence, unsure if they should speak. After an hour, the master entered quietly from the back. He bowed and sat. A monk asked, "Master, why leave the chair empty so long?" The master replied, "To teach you the presence of absence." The monks looked puzzled. He continued, "When something is missing, you notice its value." And another monk whispered, "But what is the lesson?" "When your mind becomes empty," the master said, "wisdom has space to enter, just as you waited for me to appear." The monks bowed their heads, realizing that emptiness is not a void but an invitation. That day, silence felt fuller, deeper, almost alive. 32. The notched bamboo. A novice complained that meditation hurt his back. "No matter how I sit, I feel discomfort," he told the master. The master handed him a piece of bamboo with a small notch. "Strike it," he said. The novice tapped it lightly. A clear, beautiful sound rang out. "Now strike the notch," the master instructed. This time the sound was dull, broken. The novice frowned. "What does this mean?" "When the bamboo is whole, it sings," the master said. "But one small wound changes everything." He paused. "Your mind is like this. Even a small resistance breaks your harmony." "Then, how do I heal it?" the novice asked. "By not resisting the discomfort," the master replied. "Accept it, and you will sound whole again." 33. The monk who answered too quickly. A young monk was proud of his intelligence. He always answered questions before others could think. One day, the master asked him a simple riddle. Before the master finished, the monk gave an answer. It was correct. He smiled confidently, but the master shook his head. "You are wrong," the monk protested. "But my answer is true." "Yes," the master said, "but you did not hear the whole question." The monk was stunned. The master continued, "Wisdom is not the speed of the tongue, but the stillness of the mind." The monk bowed deeply, realizing that impatience had made him blind. From then on, he waited 3 breaths before speaking. 34. The garden without footprints. A monk raked the sand garden every dawn, making perfect patterns. But each morning, someone's footprints ruined them. He grew angry and asked the master, "Who disturbs my work?" The master led him outside in the moonlight. The patterns were ruined again. The monk clenched his fists. The master asked, "Did you see who did this?" "No," the monk muttered. The master touched his shoulder. "Then why assume it is another?" He continued, "Life does not promise to preserve our work. Beauty comes from creating, not controlling." In silence, the monk realized he had been guarding patterns instead of cultivating peace. The next morning, he raked with joy, no longer fearing footprints. 35. The story the master never finished. During evening lessons, the master began telling a long story. Just before the ending, he stopped. He folded his hands and said, "That is enough for today." The monks groaned. "Master, please finish it." He smiled, but shook his head. "Why do you demand endings so quickly?" A monk protested. "Because we want to know what happens." The master replied, "That desire is the same grasping that disrupts your meditation." He stood. "Life rarely gives you complete answers. Learn to rest in the unfinished." The monks sat in silence, feeling their minds churn. Only later did they realize the unfinished story was the teaching itself. 36. The old bell and the young monk. A young monk was asked to ring the temple bell at sunset. Eager to impress, he struck it hard. The sound was harsh, uneven. The master approached. "Again," he said. The monk hit it harder. This time the bell groaned instead of singing. "Master, what am I doing wrong?" he asked. The master guided his hand. Do not strike with force. Strike with presence. He lifted the mallet gently and struck once. A rich, warm tone spread into the evening air. Strength without awareness is noise, the master said. Awareness without strength is silence. The monk bowed. From that day on, the bell sang beautifully, a sound born from balance. 37. The rope of fear. A monk walked through the forest at night and saw a snake on the path. Terrified, he froze and waited until dawn. When the sun rose, he saw the truth. It was only a coiled rope. He ran to tell the master, "Master, my mind tricked me. I suffered for nothing." The master smiled softly. "No, you suffered because you believed the fear." He added, "Fear is a painter. It colors shadows into monsters." Intention. The monk asked, "How do I stop it?" "Shine the light of awareness," the master replied. "When you see clearly, fear loses its brush." From then on, the monk carried a small lantern in his heart, a quiet flame of clarity. 38. The cup of quiet water. A villager visited the temple seeking advice. "My home is filled with arguments," she said. "Everyone speaks loudly. Nobody listens." The master poured her a cup of water. He asked her to sit and wait. The surface trembled from her footsteps. But as she sat still, the water settled. "What do you see?" the master asked. "Calmness," she replied. "Then bring this calmness home," he said. "Be the quiet cup in a room of storms." She hesitated. "But will they change?" "When calmness enters a room," the master said, "noise begins to question itself." She returned home carrying not advice, but a stillness that softened everyone around her. 39. The cloak of kindness. A traveling monk was mocked by children as he passed their village. They laughed at his robes, his shaved head, his slow walk. He ignored them and continued. A villager later apologized on their behalf. The monk simply smiled. Children throw stones at what they do not understand. The villager asked, "Doesn't it hurt you?" The monk touched his chest. "I wear a cloak they cannot tear kindness." The villager bowed with admiration. "Why kindness?" "Because anger is borrowed," the monk said. "Kindness is owned." The villager realized that gentleness is a shield stronger than anger's armor. He watched the monk walk away, wrapped in a quiet, unbreakable grace. 40. The master's slow footsteps. A student followed the master on a forest path. He grew annoyed because the master walked so slowly. Finally, he blurted, "Master, why don't you walk faster?" The master stopped. "Are we going somewhere else?" The student stuttered. "No, but still." The master placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Your feet are here, but your mind is already ahead." They walked again, but this time the master said, "Match your mind to your steps." Whenever, the student breathed deeply, slowing his pace. He noticed the colors of leaves, the sound of birds, the soft earth beneath his feet. Suddenly, the journey felt peaceful. "Master," he whispered, "I didn't know walking could feel like this." The master smiled. Everything becomes beautiful when you finally arrive in the present. 41. The ink that would not dry. A monk practiced calligraphy every morning. He wrote beautiful characters, but today the ink smudged. He frowned and tried again. Another smear. Frustrated, he went to the master. "My work is ruined," he said. "Nothing dries the way it should." The master asked him to sit. He poured tea slowly, letting the steam rise. "Some days," the master said, "even ink listens to a different rhythm." "Read Chris," the monk sighed. "Then how do I work?" "By working with the day, not against it," the master replied. They returned to the paper. This time, the monk breathed softer. His strokes were slower, steadier. The ink finally settled, and so did his mind. 42. The pebble in the sandals. A young monk limped across the courtyard. The master noticed and asked, What troubles your step? A pebble keeps getting inside my sandal, the monk said. I shake it out, but it returns. The master nodded and asked him to sit. He took the sandal and examined it carefully. He found a tiny tear in the heel. Your pebble enters through this, he said gently. The monk stared at the rip. I blamed the pebble, he whispered. Most people do, the master replied. They see the irritation, not the opening that allows it. The monk repaired the tear that evening. When he walked again, his step was free. That night he reflected. Some problems disappear the moment we stop blaming them. 43. The lantern in the rain. A monk carried a lantern to guide travelers at night. One evening, heavy rain drenched the mountain path. The lantern sputtered, then went out. The monk grew anxious. The darkness felt endless. He sheltered under a tree, waiting for the storm to ease. An old woman appeared, walking calmly with no lantern at all. Are you not afraid? The monk asked. She smiled. The rain shows the path if you listen with your feet. The monk closed his eyes. He felt the ground soft, cool, living. When he opened them again, he could see the faint outline of the trail. He realized the lantern was only one way of seeing. Awareness was another. He walked on, guided not by light, but by presence itself. 44. The tea steam lesson. A villager visited the temple, burdened by worries. He spoke rapidly. Money, work, family, sleepless nights. The master brewed tea and said nothing. Steam rose in soft curls between them. The villager paused. Master, are you listening? I am watching your worries, the master said. Rise and fade like steam. The villager stared at the swirling warmth. In moments, it vanished into the air. So quickly, he murmured. Yes, the master said, but only if you stop blowing on them. The villager breathed out slowly. His shoulders loosened for the first time in weeks. He left the temple lighter. No answers, just space. 45. The brush of the wind. A monk asked the master how to calm his anger. It strikes so fast, he said, like thunder. The master walked him to a bamboo grove. A breeze moved through the stalks, but none of them resisted. Watch, the master said softly. The wind brushed the bamboo, and the bamboo simply bowed. The monk listened. The sound was gentle, almost musical. Your anger is wind, the master said. Your mind tries to be a stone wall. The monk lowered his eyes. How do I become bamboo? By bending, the master replied. Before the storm becomes you. The monk breathed deeply, feeling the lesson settle in his chest. 46. The monk who walked backward. A novice walked backward across the courtyard. The other monks stared, confused. The master approached with a soft smile. What art are you practicing today? The novice bowed. I am studying regret, master. The master tilted his head. How so? When I walk backward, the novice said, I see every step I have already taken. The master chuckled gently. And what have you learned? That I keep watching my past, instead of moving toward my present. And Christ. The master nodded. Then turn around, he said. The novice did, and felt the relief of facing forward again. 47. The sparrow's courage. A storm rolled over the valley one afternoon. Thunder shook the temple. Lightning cracked like a whip across the sky. A young monk ran for shelter. On the path, he saw a tiny sparrow perched calmly. How can it stay there? He wondered. It should be terrified. The master joined him. That sparrow trusts the branch, he said. And you, young one, trust only the storm. The monk stared quietly. His breath slowed. Fear looks at what may fall, the master said. Courage looks at what holds you up. The storm passed, but the lesson stayed. 48. The broken ladle. In the kitchen, a ladle cracked during morning chores. A monk threw it aside angrily. Useless now, he muttered. The master picked it up. He used it to water the small herb garden. It leaks, the monk protested. Yes, the master said, but herbs need gentle rain, not floods. The monk blinked, surprised. So, it still has purpose. Everything does, the master replied. Once you stop insisting what purpose should look like. The monk bowed. A broken ladle taught him what perfection never could. 49. The waiting stone. A monk placed a smooth stone near the temple gate. Each day, travelers touched it for good luck. One day the monk moved it aside to clean the path. A traveler complained, "Where is the lucky stone?" The monk handed it to him. "Here." The traveler touched it and felt nothing special. He frowned. "It feels different." The master overheard and said, "You expected the stone to give you luck, but it was your belief doing the work." The traveler blushed. Sometimes the magic we chase was ours all along. 50. The master's one breath. During meditation, a monk grew restless. His mind raced from chores to worries to tomorrow. He finally sighed loudly. The master opened his eyes. "What troubles your practice?" "My breath feels chaotic," the monk said. "I cannot follow it." The master inhaled once, slowly, then exhaled, equally slow. "That is one breath," he said. "Can you do just one?" The monk tried. Just one. And it worked. "One breath is enough," the master whispered, "for the mind to remember home." The monk felt a warmth in his chest. Small, but steady. 51. The window of clear glass. A young monk cleaned the temple windows every week. Today the glass looked cloudy no matter how hard he wiped. He scrubbed again, growing frustrated. "Why won't it shine?" he muttered. The master approached quietly. "Let it rest," he said. The monk stepped back, annoyed. "How will it get clean by resting?" The master pointed. Over time, the moisture evaporated on its own. The glass brightened without a single stroke. The monk sighed softly. "So I was making it worse?" "Some things clear by themselves," the master replied, "if you stop scrubbing your life with worry." The monk sat beside the window, watching clarity return at its own pace. 52. The two travelers at dusk. Two travelers approached the temple at dusk. One hurried, anxious to reach shelter before nightfall. The other walked slowly, watching the colors fade into evening. The master met them at the gate. "You both arrived," he said, "but you lived different journeys." The hurried traveler replied, "I just wanted to be safe." The slower one said, "I wanted to see the world as I moved." The master nodded. "Safety is important," he said softly, "but so is the life you pass through on the way." The hurried traveler lowered his gaze. He realized he had missed the sky, the breeze, the moment. That night, he slept deeply, having learned the value of not rushing through what is already here. 53. The bowl of cold rice. A monk found his rice cold during the morning meal. He complained loudly, "Why must I eat food that has lost its warmth?" The master lifted his own bowl. He took a bite, smiling gently. "It is still nourishing," he said. "The warmth you miss is your expectation, not the rice." The monk hesitated. He tasted it again. The flavor was the same as always. "What changed?" he asked. "Your mind," the master replied. "It is the only ingredient that turns dissatisfaction into peace." The monk finished his bowl slowly, feeling a quiet warmth rise from inside. Not the food. 54. The bridge and the river's murmur. A novice meditated on a small wooden bridge, but the river's murmur distracted him. He kept opening his eyes. The master joined him. "Why do you struggle?" "The water is too loud," the novice said. The master closed his eyes. "The river speaks only when your mind argues with it." The novice frowned. "I don't understand." "Stop resisting," the master whispered. The novice breathed softly. He let the murmur be what it was. Slowly, the sound blended into his stillness. "Ah," he exhaled. The river no longer disturbed him. It supported him like a cradle made of sound. 55. The cloud that would not move. A monk stared at a single cloud during meditation. "I want it gone," he said, "so I can see the clear sky behind it." The master chuckled. "You wish to move a cloud with desire." The monk flushed. "Is that foolish?" The master pointed upward. "Watch." Minutes passed. The cloud drifted at its own pace. "You see," the master said, "clouds move when they move, not when we demand it." The monk lowered his gaze. "So my desire is the real obstruction." "It's a return." The master nodded. "Let clouds be clouds. Let your mind be sky." The monk finally breathed freely and saw that the sky had never left. 56. The master's cool stone. A villager came with anger burning in his chest. "I cannot cool my temper," he said. "It flares too fast." The master handed him a cool stone from a shaded well. "Hold this." The villager held the stone until its chill warmed. "What changed?" the master asked. "It didn't stay cool," the villager said. "My hand changed it." The master smiled. "Your anger is like this stone. If you hold it gently, it warms into understanding." "I can dumb." The villager's shoulders softened. He realized that cooling anger was less about force and more about patience. He left with a calm he did not expect, a quiet coolness growing from within. "Ah," he whispered. "My mind added the second one." The master nodded. "Most fear is an echo we create." The monk felt lighter, knowing he didn't have to chase every sound his mind made. 58. The faded prayer flag. A prayer flag hung outside the temple for many seasons. Its colors faded, threads loosened, edges frayed. A monk suggested replacing it. "It looks worn," he said. The master touched the flag gently. "It has offered its colors to the wind," he whispered. "But is it still useful?" the monk asked. "Very," the master replied. "It teaches impermanence with every ripple." The monk watched the flag dance softly. It had a beauty he hadn't noticed, a quiet dignity in its aging. "Thank you," he said to the flag. The master smiled. "When you learn to honor what has weathered time, you learn to honor yourself." 59. The clay cup and the crack. A monk cherished his clay cup. One day, he found a thin crack along the rim. His heart sank. "It's ruined," he said sadly. The master examined it. "It still holds tea," he noted. "But it isn't perfect," the monk insisted. The master placed the cup in sunlight. The crack glowed with brightness. "This flaw lets the light through," he said. "It reveals the cup's courage to endure." The monk traced the crack gently. He felt tenderness instead of disappointment. From then on, he drank tea slowly, honoring both the vessel and its story, and in doing so, he honored his own. 60. The master counting droplets. A novice asked the master how to stop feeling overwhelmed. "My tasks pile up like a storm," he said. The master placed a bowl under a dripping roof. They watched each droplet fall. "One drop," the master said, "then another. Never the whole storm at once." The novice exhaled, shoulders lowering. "So I must handle life like this?" "Yes," the master replied, "one clear moment at a time." The bowl slowly filled, quietly, steadily. The novice felt something ease in him, the pressure dissolving into patience. A bowl fills by droplets, and so does a life. Story 61. The Buddha and the Tired Farmer. On a warm afternoon near Jetavana, the Buddha sat beneath a tall sal tree, its leaves stirring softly in the breeze. A tired farmer approached, dust on his robes, shoulders drooping. He bowed and confessed that he was drowning in worry. Too many tasks, too many mouths to feed, too many debts. He said he barely slept anymore, thinking constantly about what might go wrong. The Buddha listened quietly, letting the man speak until his voice settled. Then he reminded the farmer that no one lives without problems. Even kings carry their own burdens. He explained gently that peace comes not from removing all difficulties, but from loosening the grip of worry around them. The farmer felt something inside him unclench, just a little. You might know that feeling when life piles too much on your plate and your mind won't stop running. Maybe you've had nights where sleep felt far away and your heart beat too fast. A simple lesson remains. Problems don't disappear, but suffering eases when you stop holding them so tightly. Peace begins with letting the breath settle first. For a short practice, breathe in to a slow count of 4. Breathe out to a slow count of 6. Do this 5 times. Let each exhale carry away one small strand of worry. Story 62. The Buddha and the Angry Monk. The Buddha was walking back to the monastery when he found a young monk sitting alone beneath a fig tree. The monk's face was tight with frustration. He explained that another monk had spoken sharply to him, and he couldn't let go of the hurt. He replayed the moment again and again, feeding the flames. The Buddha listened, then reminded him that anger burns the one who holds it more than the one who caused it. He spoke of how a fire kept in the palm cannot warm it, only wounds. The monk breathed out slowly, realizing the flame he had been nursing. Little by little, his jaw softened. Perhaps you've had moments when someone's words echoed in your mind long after they were spoken. Maybe you've rehearsed comebacks or held on to resentment that exhausted you. A quiet truth remains. Letting go of anger is not weakness. It is choosing not to harm yourself anymore. Release gives strength. Try resting one hand on your chest for a minute. Feel the rise and fall, and imagine the heat of anger cooling each time you exhale. Story 63. The Buddha and Kisagotami's Return. One evening, Kisagotami sat near the Buddha again, long after her famous search for a mustard seed from a house untouched by death. Her losses had carved deep lines in her heart. She admitted she still felt waves of grief, wondering if she should be over it by now. She feared she was failing in her practice. The Buddha reminded her gently that grief softens at its own pace, that understanding impermanence doesn't erase love, nor the ache that follows it. Kisagotami breathed more steadily, relieved that nothing was wrong with her slow healing. For the first time that day, her shoulders lowered. Maybe you've pressured yourself to move on quickly from something painful, or scolded yourself for still hurting. A quiet insight remains. Healing is not a race. Grief itself becomes a teacher. Softness, not speed, brings peace. For a practice, whisper to yourself, "This is hard, and I am doing my best." Repeat it 3 times, gently, as if speaking to someone you love. Story 64. The Buddha and the Worried Merchant. At dawn, a wealthy merchant visited the Buddha with trembling hands. He feared losing everything he owned, his ships, his storehouses, his investments. He confessed that despite all his wealth, he slept poorly and lived in constant fear. His success had become a cage of his own making. The Buddha spoke calmly, explaining that possessions are like borrowed clouds, beautiful when they appear, gone when the winds shift. The merchant felt the truth of those words settle in his chest, warming and steadying him. He realized he had been clinging to sand. You may have felt that too, the pressure to hold on, to maintain, to protect what you've built. Fear can sit beside achievement like a shadow. The lesson is simple. Security grows not from wealth, but from a mind that can stay steady when things change. Hold lightly. Breathe deeply. Try this. Imagine each inhale widening your chest, each exhale loosening your grip. Let your fingers relax fully, even for just a minute. Story 65. The Buddha and the 2 Arrows. A monk came to the Buddha, troubled by his own reactions to pain. He felt ashamed because discomfort, physical and emotional, overwhelmed him so easily. The Buddha explained the teaching of the 2 arrows. The first arrow is the unavoidable pain of life. The second is the suffering we add through resistance, fear, and worry. Hearing this, the monk felt a clarity he hadn't known before. His breath grew slower, more grounded. Maybe you know that second arrow too, the extra pressure you put on yourself, the stories that spiral after a hard moment. The teaching remains timeless. Pain is part of life. Suffering is optional. You can stop the second arrow. For practice, name quietly what hurts right now. Then name what you're adding on top and let that part go with your next exhale. Story 66. The Buddha and the Daughter-in-Law. A young woman came to the Buddha in tears, overwhelmed by her duties at home. Her mother-in-law criticized her constantly, and she felt she could never do enough. The Buddha listened with patience, then reminded her that others' harshness often comes from their own fear and pain. He encouraged her to respond with clarity, not resentment. Her breath softened as she realized she wasn't failing. She was simply tired and hurt. She left with a lighter step. Maybe you felt that pressure too, trying to meet expectations that seem to shift every day, or carrying the weight of someone else's judgments. A lasting insight. You don't have to hold every arrow others throw. Your worth is not up for debate. For practice, place a hand on your belly and breathe into it slowly. Feel each breath affirm your own ground. Story 67. The Buddha and the Restless King Pasenadi. Late at night, King Pasenadi draped his royal cloak over his shoulders and visited the Buddha. He confessed he couldn't sleep, worrying about neighboring kingdoms, politics, and betrayal. The Buddha spoke gently, reminding the king that fear multiplies in the dark. He suggested grounding himself in the present moment instead of chasing imagined threats. The king felt a warmth spread through his chest, as if the night air had softened. His mind, once racing, began to slow. Maybe you've had nights like that, filled with what-ifs and runaway thoughts. Maybe your worries grow larger when the room grows quiet. A simple wisdom holds true. Most fears shrink when met with awareness, not avoidance. Come back to where your feet are. For practice, feel your breath. Then notice the surface beneath you, chair, bed, floor, supporting you without asking anything in return. Story 68. The Buddha and the Woman Who Felt Invisible. A woman approached the Buddha, explaining she felt unseen at home and in her village. She worked tirelessly, yet no one seemed to notice or appreciate her. The Buddha reminded her that worth does not depend on praise. He spoke of how a lamp shines regardless of who looks at it. Hearing this, the woman's throat tightened with relief. A warmth rose in her chest, recognition. Finally, from within. Maybe you know that feeling of giving so much and being noticed so little. Maybe you've wondered if your efforts matter. A gentle truth remains. Your value is intrinsic, not awarded. Light doesn't need permission to shine. For practice, whisper one thing you appreciate about yourself. Just one. Let it land softly inside. Story 69. The Buddha and the Distracted Student. A young monk admitted to the Buddha that he couldn't focus. His mind jumped constantly from thoughts about chores to worries about the future. The Buddha explained that the mind is like a wild calf. It learns to stay only through patient, gentle training. The monk felt reassured instead of ashamed. His breath slowed as he realized he wasn't failing, he was learning. You might feel that scatteredness too, checking emails, switching tasks, losing your place, forgetting why you started something. The teaching is simple. Attention grows where kindness guides it. Gentleness trains the mind better than force. For practice, choose one breath to fully notice. Just one. Then another, if you wish. Story 70. The Buddha and the Man Afraid of Change. A man came to the Buddha trembling about a major change in his life. A move, a new job, the unraveling of what was familiar. He confessed he felt unsteady, scared of losing control. His stomach knotted every time he imagined the future. The Buddha reminded him that all things shift, that stability is found not in holding the world still, but in staying steady within change. The man inhaled deeply, as if tasting the truth. His shoulders softened, and his gaze became clearer. Maybe you've felt that same fear when life moves faster than you'd like. Maybe uncertainty has weighed heavily on your chest. A lasting truth. Change is not the enemy. Clinging is. Your breath can be your anchor. For practice, breathe slowly and name aloud. Right now, I am safe. Let the words settle like warm sand in your chest. Story 71. The Buddha and the Monk Lost in Comparison. One afternoon, a young monk sat apart from the Sangha, shoulders curled inward. The Buddha approached, noticing the tension in his breath. The monk confessed he felt inferior to others, slower in learning, weaker in meditation, less disciplined. He said he compared himself constantly and felt smaller each day. The Buddha reminded him that flowers bloom in their own seasons. A lotus does not compete with a lily. Both open when the sun reaches them. The monk felt a quiet warmth settle in his chest, easing the tightness. His breath deepened with a sense of permission to grow at his own pace. Maybe you felt that too, looking at others' progress and feeling behind, or wondering why life seems easier for everyone else. A simple truth remains. Your path is not late. Your growth is not wrong. Comparison steals the joy of becoming. For practice, whisper, I grow in my time. Let that phrase soften the restless pressure inside you. Story 72. The Buddha and the Anxious Father. A father arrived at the monastery with deep worry in his eyes. His son was rebellious, unpredictable, and drifting into trouble. He asked the Buddha what he had done wrong, blaming himself for every misstep. His voice cracked with exhaustion. The Buddha explained gently that even a wise gardener cannot control every storm. Parents guide, but they cannot shape every outcome. The father's shoulders loosened as he realized his love was enough, even if he couldn't fix everything. A softer breath escaped him. Maybe you've struggled with guilt when someone you love is hurting or making mistakes. Maybe you've wished you could carry their burden for them. The lesson endures. Love guides. It cannot control. Do your best, then breathe. For practice, picture someone you care about and send them one silent wish. May you be safe. Let the wish float freely. Story 73. The Buddha and the Monk, Afraid of Failure. A monk approached the Buddha late in the day. Shadows long across the ground. He confessed he feared failing in his practice, failing in life. Even, he hesitated to try new tasks, worried he would embarrass himself. His fear kept him frozen. The Buddha gently shared that mistakes are simply steps on the path. No one reaches wisdom without stumbling. Hearing this, the monk felt his breath expand. The knot in his stomach loosened. Maybe you've hesitated to begin something because you feared not being perfect. Maybe you've stayed in place to avoid looking foolish. A gentle truth remains. Failure is not an ending. It is a teacher. Courage begins with one small step. For practice, choose one modest action you've delayed. Take it within the next breath or two, just the first inch forward. Story 74. The Buddha and the Quarreling Brothers. Two brothers came to the Buddha arguing over an inheritance. Their voices were sharp, each convinced he was right. The Buddha listened, then reminded them that holding tightly to mine and yours blinds the heart. He spoke of how clinging to possessions breeds division. The brothers felt the weight of their anger lighten, replaced by a quieter grief. They realized they had almost lost each other. Maybe you've had conflicts over money, fairness, or who deserved what. Maybe something small became heavy when emotions piled up. A simple truth. Peace matters more than possession. Let go before the heart cracks further. For a practice, breathe slowly and picture releasing one tight expectation, just one in your next exhale. Story 75. The Buddha and the Sorrowful Widow. A widow approached the Buddha with quiet tears. Her partner had passed months ago, yet her heart still felt broken. She said she feared she would never smile again without guilt. Her grief felt like a stone on her chest. The Buddha reminded her that love does not end with death, and remembering joy does not betray the past. A soft warmth filled her, as she realized her sorrow and her love were intertwined. For the first time in days, she exhaled fully. Maybe you felt guilty for healing, laughing, or moving forward. Maybe a part of you feared letting go of pain meant letting go of love, a lasting truth. Healing honors love. It never erases it. Joy can return gently. For practice, place your hand over your heart and breathe. Imagine warm light surrounding both your sorrow and your love. Story 76. The Buddha and the Impatient Student. A student came to the Buddha frustrated with his meditation. He wanted quick results, instant calm, and unwavering focus. The Buddha explained that the mind settles like clear water, only when it is no longer stirred. The student exhaled, realizing he had been rushing what cannot be rushed. His breathing steadied in small waves. Maybe you've wanted immediate peace or instant confidence. Maybe you've judged yourself for not progressing fast enough. A simple truth. Patience grows the roots of wisdom. Soft practice, steady progress. For practice, choose one breath to slow down deliberately. Let the inhale lift gently, the exhale fall like a leaf. Story 77. The Buddha and the Merchant, burdened by guilt. A merchant visited the Buddha, carrying shame from a past wrongdoing. Years had passed, but the memory weighed heavily on him. He felt unworthy of kindness, convinced he could never be forgiven. His voice trembled as he spoke. The Buddha reminded him that sincere remorse is already a turning of the heart. Goodness begins with honesty and continues with mindful action. The merchant felt a warmth spread through his chest, loosening the chains of old guilt. His breath softened. Maybe you've carried something from your past that still stings. Maybe you've believed you must suffer forever for it. A quiet truth. Guilt can guide, but it should not imprison. Growth is the true apology. For practice, write one line mentally or on paper about how you wish to live differently now. Let the intention feel like a fresh breeze. Story 78. The Buddha and the Tired Caregiver. A woman who cared for her aging parents came to the Buddha exhausted. Her days were filled with chores, worries, and constant vigilance. She said she felt guilty resting, as if care was valid only when she suffered. Her energy was nearly gone. The Buddha reminded her that compassion includes oneself. A candle that burns without pause soon turns to smoke. Hearing this, she felt tears rise, relief mixed with release. Her breath deepened for the first time in days. Maybe you've cared for others so much you forgot your own needs. Maybe exhaustion has become a familiar companion. A gentle truth. Rest is not selfish. It sustains love. Care requires replenishment. For practice, take one slow stretch and one full breath. Just one, a small act of kindness toward yourself. Story 79. The Buddha and the Monk attached to praise. A monk admitted to the Buddha that praise made him feel alive. He craved approval from others and felt crushed when he didn't receive it. The Buddha explained that praise and blame are like the winds, unpredictable and impossible to hold. The monk felt a quiet release as he realized he had tied his worth to shifting weather. His posture softened. Maybe you've felt that pull too, checking for validation, hoping others will confirm your value, or feeling anxious when you don't get the recognition you hoped for. A timeless truth. Your worth is steady. Praise is not. Stand where the wind cannot sway you. For practice, breathe in and gently say, I am enough. Let the words anchor you like a stone in calm water. Story 80. The Buddha and the Student, overwhelmed by choices. A student approached the Buddha feeling paralyzed by too many paths. He wanted certainty, guarantees that he would make the right choices. He feared choosing wrong and ruining his future. His mind was tangled with doubts. The Buddha reminded him that clarity comes from walking, not standing still. No path reveals itself until the first step is taken. The student felt a steadying breath pass through him, loosening the grip of fear. His thoughts grew quieter. Maybe you felt overwhelmed by decisions, career, relationships, finances. Maybe you feared the unknown more than the wrong turn. A gentle truth remains. Direction comes from movement. One honest step is enough. For practice, place both feet firmly on the ground. Take one slow breath and imagine the next small step becoming clear. Tonight has been a long, gentle journey. A journey through stories passed down for centuries. And yet somehow, they meet you exactly where you are. Not as lessons to memorize, not as ideas to push or pull. Just soft lights, tiny lanterns glowing along a quiet path. You've walked that path slowly, breath by breath, sometimes with eyes open, sometimes drifting into that twilight place between thinking and dreaming. Everything in you has been moving toward rest, in its own time. And now, as we reach the end of this hour together, the night feels deeper, calmer, almost holding you, like the earth itself has settled around your body, keeping you warm, keeping you safe. Take one slow breath, in, and let it fall. Out. Nothing to shape, nothing to get right, just the body breathing itself, like a tide rolling toward the shore and then easing away again. You might feel the day slipping farther behind you now, like a river carrying away the last tiny stones of worry. You don't have to chase anything. You don't have to solve anything. The water knows where to flow, and tonight, you're allowed to float. All evening, the stories have gently pointed toward this place, not with commands, not with pressure, just small reminders that peace is not something you force. It's something that arrives when you stop trying so hard. Maybe you sense that in the quiet moments, the way the mind softened around the edges, the way the heart felt a little less guarded, the way each breath seemed to open just a little more space inside you. Let that space widen now, like moonlight spreading across the surface of a still lake. No rush, no sound, just a soft glow moving outward and outward and outward. The stories tonight held many beings, monks, parents, wanderers, kings, each carrying their own burdens, their own questions, their own hopes. And in every story, there came a moment when something inside them loosened, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. A letting go so quiet they barely noticed it. And maybe, just maybe, you felt a bit of that too. The gentle release of something you don't have to carry into sleep. Something that can stay right here at the edge of the night, where it will wait without demanding anything of you. Let your shoulders soften just a little more. Let your jaw settle. Let the muscles around your eyes grow warm and heavy. Let your breath spread through your chest like warm evening air drifting through an open window. Nothing is urgent now. Nothing is unfinished. Everything can rest. Even your thoughts can lie down for a while. They've worked hard today. They deserve a quiet corner to curl into. Let them drift like leaves on a pond, floating wherever the water wants to take them. And inside that drifting, feel how the body begins to glow with its own gentle light. A candle flame behind the ribs, a warm ember deep in the belly, a tiny lantern resting in your throat, softening the air as you breathe. This is your inner night sky. Wide, open, unhurried, and tonight, you don't have to fill it with anything. Just float in the quiet, float in the dim silver of your own presence, float in the easy rhythm of your breath. In this softness, life becomes simple again. Just the rise and fall of the chest, just the weight of the body sinking deeper into the bed, just the faint pulse humming through your hands, just the gentle warmth behind your closed eyes. The world continues its slow turning. Clouds drift unseen. The ocean breathes in enormous waves far away. Somewhere, a candle flickers on a windowsill. Somewhere, the moon hangs steady over a sleeping field. And here you are, part of all of it. Not separate, not alone. Just another quiet presence folded into the night. Let that truth cradle you. Let it whisper without words. Let it calm the last small ripples inside your chest. You've walked far enough for one day. You've listened, and breathed, and opened. Now your only job is to rest, to allow the night to hold you the way a mother might hold a tired child, with gentleness, with patience, with love so soft it barely has a name. Feel the bed beneath you. Feel how it supports you without asking anything in return. Feel the warmth collecting along your spine, across your arms, down your legs. Feel the body dissolving into the darkness, piece by piece, breath by breath. There is nothing left to do, nowhere left to go. The stories have settled, the mind is quieting, the heart is lighter, and sleep is rising toward you like a slow mist from the valley below. Let it meet you, let it lift you, let it wrap around you, cool and gentle, like moonlit water. If your breath becomes slower now, let it. If your mind begins to fade into drifting shapes and colors, let it. If you feel yourself slipping into the soft, warm gravity of sleep, let it. The night is wide, the path is clear, you are safe, you are carried, you are home. So rest now, set everything down. Let the final traces of the day dissolve into darkness, like an exhale fading into the quiet.